वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om. My salutations to one and all. So, Ishavasya Upanishad, we have seen the introduction, and we also saw the need for a Shanti mantra and how the Upanishad is to be studied when the mind is in two states, either of the two states. One is the Ekagra Avastha and one is the Niruddha Avastha. Kshipta, Mudha and Vikshipta. In these three states, when we study the Upanishad, we won't get the full benefit of it. So to bring the mind into the Ekagra Avastha, the Shanti mantra is a very important tool. Different Shanti mantras are there. The mantra which we are using for the Ishavasya Upanishad is the Purnamadah, Purnamidam. Doesn't matter. We will repeat the mantra. Om. Repeat after me, okay? The intonation. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this mantra is about Purnatvam. So Purnata, when we speak about, see, in our life, what we generally seek. We think we seek money, power, wealth, position, house, people, different things that we seek. And how do we seek? We have a desire, Ichha. When we have desire, then to fulfill it we do action, prayatna. And then we have achievement, upalabdhi. So different things that we seek, the process which we apply is this. Desire for whatever we have. So here you have desire for knowledge. So then you are putting the efforts to come here. Any other object, people, success, whatever we seek, through the desire we act, and through the action there is achievement. But what one generally forgets is the I. This small I which is there, that small I is the desirer, Mr. So and so. This desirer one generally forgets. The desirer is feeling incomplete, and hence the feeling of incompleteness is bringing forth a desire, and now I am acting to get something. So this desirer who is feeling incomplete will keep on having new desires to become complete. But the strange thing is, in spite of achievement, does the desirer feel complete? Doesn't feel complete. Apurnata remains only, all the time. And hence it is that what one has to understand, in desires, there are two types of desires. What are these two types of desires? First type of desire is called natural desire, which is inborn, which is there in everybody. What are these desires? The desire to live. Does anybody want to die? No, Swamiji, my life is terrible. I want to die. I want to die not because I want to die. I just want to get out of my problem. If the problem is removed, then ask that person, do you want to die? No. I want to come back into another form. I don't want to become non-existent. So to live is the most fundamental desire. Everybody, every creature wants to live. Once Bhagwan Vedavyasji was walking on the shores of an ocean, and there was one small worm. As Bhagwan Vedavyas was walking, that small worm was trying its best to move away from the path. And looking at that, Vedavyasji said, see, every single jiva has a desire to live. Nobody wants to die. Jijivisha it is called, the desire to live. So we want to live at all times. We don't want to become non-existent. Second natural desire is, I want to know. The desire for knowledge is there in all of us, that I want to know. What I want to know may be different. Somebody wants to know something in stock market, what is happening. Somebody wants to know what is happening in the political situation, in the economy, in some business, somewhere, something. Some subject one wants to learn, hobby one wants to learn. If nothing, I want to know what is happening in my neighbor's house. I want to know something. Desire to know is there. Desire to be happy also is there. I want to be happy, and I want to be happy at all times. Nobody wants sorrow. Nobody wants misery. We fight against it. These three desires are the most fundamental desires, natural desires in everybody. That's why they are called Naisargik. Sarga means creation. Naisargik means inborn. It is there with us. Now the strange thing that happens is, these three desires doesn't get fulfilled only. I get temporary happiness, I get limited knowledge, I live in this particular body for some time, then I die. Because I don't know that these are my deepest demands. Live not as just a finite entity. I want to live at all times, right? So permanent life I want. Knowledge also, it is not just knowledge of objects. I want to know at all times. And I want to be happy at all times. So this applies to all the three. Living at all times, knowing at all times, being happy at all times. Can any object fulfill this? Any object we try in the world, will it help us to do any of these? It is not possible only. But I am still trying. So the second type of desires are called cultivated desires. These cultivated desires are different for all people. Somebody wants money, somebody wants fame, somebody wants building, somebody wants person, somebody wants car, somebody wants phone. Cultivated desire. Now this cultivated desire can give me some object, person, situation, but will it fulfill these three demands? It will not fulfill these three demands. Why? Because they themselves are temporary. They cannot extend life forever. They cannot give me knowledge. They cannot make me happy at all times. But still, the mind runs behind these cultivated desires. And that's why I said that achievement also happens because of cultivated desire. I work hard, I achieve certain things, but still, incompleteness remains or not. One still feels apurnam. So, what we should know is our basic demand is for that which is purna. Every single person needs purnata. There is nobody who doesn't want purnata. A seeker consciously seeks purnata in the place where it is found. That's the only difference. A formal seeker is seeking it in the right place. Others are seeking the same thing but outside, in a wrong place. So each of us are seekers of purnatvam only, completeness. Desire, action, achievement. This is a general process. But how much I am caught up in the desire, action, achievement cycle that I forget that it is not fulfilling my basic demand. I, the desirer, continue to remain apurna only, no matter how much I get. Earlier I was feeling apurnam with some 10 lakh rupees. Now I feel apurnam with some 10 crore rupees. I am still apurna only. My possessions may have increased. They may have a relevance in the world, but apurnata doesn't go. So first thing I need to know is I am a seeker of purnatvam. These are the three things: live at all times, know at all times, be happy at all times. That's an inborn desire in all. Purnatvam is the inborn desire in everybody, that I want to experience fulfillment, gaining which nothing more remains to be gained. That is the state of fulfillment. But whenever I fulfill any desires which are cultivated, I gain that object or person or situation, I still remain incomplete, and that thing being temporary, it will go away. Again a new desire will start. So I will be continuously in this cycle of desire, action, achievement, desire, action, achievement. This goes on. And hence we say that wants get fulfilled, but wanting does not get fulfilled. Why? Because I don't know, first of all, what do I really seek? Three fundamental questions. What do I really seek? From where to get it? And third, how to get it? Very simple, fundamental questions, but nobody teaches us any of these. What do I really seek is not anything which is cultivated desire oriented. I really seek permanency, I really seek knowledge, and I really seek supreme happiness. Now, where do I get it? Till now, I didn't know what I was seeking. So I am thinking that I am seeking some mark, some promotion, some building, some car, something. So I am running outside. And what is the means of getting it? Action is the means of getting it. But when I come to study Vedanta, I start introspecting, then what do I understand? I really seek these three things. From where will I get it? Is anything in the world outside capable of giving it? It is not capable of giving it. So now, I will not get it from outside. I have to turn within. And when we say turn within, inside, can I get it inside the mind? No. Can I get it inside the intellect? No. Because mind, intellect also are continuously changing. Where will I get it? Only when I transcend the body, mind, intellect identification, then I will get it. So now, from where I will get it? When I transcend the BMI. Now, how will I get it? Through any amount of action I do, I will not get this. So should I stop acting? That I cannot do. Action I have to do. But I can do it with the attitude of dedication to the Lord to purify the mind. So action can become a means. It can prepare me. When the mind has become quiet, selfless, single-pointed, that mind, through contemplation or what generally people call as meditation, will be able to transcend the attachment to the BMI and experience what is that which is Supreme Self, that is Purnam. So what I really seek is Purnatvam. From where will I get it? Beyond BMI. And how will I get it? Through contemplation, or what we call meditation. Through that I will get it. So the seeker who understands this very, very clearly, that seeker goes to the teacher wanting to know what is that which is Purnam. Because one has seen enough in the world and understood that this basic desire of mine is not getting fulfilled at all. I am just in a chase. Continuously I keep chasing something or the other, and there's an illusion of achievement. I feel good for some time, again the mind runs behind something. So one aspect is apurnata. Many people think apurnata is in objects because they are temporary. But really speaking, what is apurnata? In Vedanta we say there are three types of apurnata. What are they? One, desha, or space. We have apurnata of desha. From the top of the head to the tip of the toe. This is the pervasiveness of this body. Object also is finite because it has space limitation. This pen is this much only. This iPad is this much only. This is limited by space. That which is limited by space will not be permanent. It will get destroyed. So desha is one level of apurnata. Second level of apurnata is kala. What is right now may not be there next minute. It was not there earlier. It came into existence. It may not be there next minute. So desha apurnata, kala apurnata, and third is vastu, object, space, time and object. What the mic can do, the pencil cannot do. What the pencil can do, this book cannot do. Each object has different properties. So each object limits the other. So this world is limited by desha, kala and vastu. What I am seeking, purnata, is that which is beyond space, beyond time, beyond object. So nothing in the world which is limited by space, time and object can bring me that permanent happiness. So no matter how much I will try in the world, fulfillment is not going to be experienced. Why this is important to understand? Because this conviction has to come. Otherwise, you know what happens? We study Vedanta and we know I am seeking Purnatvam, but I am still running behind Apurnatvam only. I am running behind the temporary things to get the permanent. That's why Kathopanishad says very beautifully, Dhruvam adhruveshu iha na prarthayante. The wise people are those who don't seek the permanent through the temporary. It is common sense, no? But that common sense only is very uncommon. One is still running behind the temporary things in spite of knowing. See, when we don't know, it is one aspect. Now I know, I am studying in Vedanta also. What to do, Swamiji, but Vasana pressure is very strong, you know. I know that there is no happiness in Rasgulla, but when that Rasgulla comes in front of me, all this philosophy I forget. Desha, Kala, Vastu, Parichinnata, all that gone. Rasgulla, I am the Bhokta, I have to eat. Then the bliss I experience is called Brahmananda. So I may know Vedanta properly, but my mind still runs behind Apurna Vastu only. Why? One reason is Vasana pressure is there. That's why preparation is required. Such a long introduction we saw, all the preparation required. Second reason is the conviction of the existence of the Purnatvam is not there. Can we say Purnatvam exists or is it just a concept? How? How does Purnatvam exist? There has to be It could be some concept created by somebody. How do we know it exists? Good. So that is one logic. If there is a change, continuously if there is change, there has to be a changeless substratum for perceiving that change. Like the screen is permanent. Then the picture comes, picture goes, but the screen remains. So, changeless substratum is a must for perceiving change. That is one logic. Once I understand this, you can apply this to so many examples. If the river has to flow, what has to be there? The banks of the river and the bed of the river has to be there. Then the change will happen on that. The river will flow. If the dancer has to dance, the stage must be stationary. So change itself is the proof of the existence of the changeless. Simple logic this is. Now why this logic is required? Because I am not seeing anything that is changeless. I am seeing everything around me only changing. So how do I know that changeless exists? One is this logic. So in the world, what is changeless? That which remains unaffected, doesn't change, is only isness. Forms keep changing, right? Isness does not change. The seed was. Now the seed has been watered, it has been put in the mud. Now the seed was, the plant is. Then the plant becomes a tree. So plant was, tree is. Now the tree, you chop the tree was, the wood is. Now that wood is made into furniture. The wood was, the furniture is. You set fire to that furniture. The furniture was, the ash is. Now what was changing in this? Form was continuously changing. Did it at any point in time become non-existent? Never. That astitvam is called isness, which we call as sat. Sat. Sat is changeless. That sat will never become asat. Because the definition of sat is what? That which remains changeless in 3 periods of time. That is called sat. Now you may say, okay, but that is in the world outside. In us also, what remains changeless? Self, Sakshi remains the same. Waking, dream, deep sleep. The mind goes through waking, dream, deep sleep state. But the Atma that illumines waking, dream, deep sleep, that remains same. So that Atma is the illuminer of the mind. That mind goes through waking experiences because of presence of the Atma. Then it goes through dream experiences because of the Atma. And then in the deep sleep, both mind, intellect, body, everything becomes unmanifest till that aham, I, that remains. So in us, so isness is in the world outside, and I am, the feeling of I am, aham, asmi, I am at all times. We all feel our presence or not? I am existing at all times. Can you feel your own absence? Try. Feel your absence. If you can feel your absence, you will set a new Guinness Book of World Record. First person to feel his or her absence. Till today, though, nobody has felt. It is impossible to feel my own absence. Which means what? Body exists, mind exists, intellect exists, so I exist. No. I exist, hence body, mind, intellect exist. Without body, mind, intellect also I am. This is called Sat. So Purnatvam is a fact, is not a imagination. Why? Because it is aparoksha anubhav. It is my experience right now. Only difficulty is right now I am not able to identify with that fully. I am identifying with the BMI. So we cannot say Purnatvam does not exist. Purnatvam exists. Sat exists. Now this Sat, and when we say Aham, are we aware of my existence or not? Each one of us is aware of our existence. So that awareness is called Chit. That Chit, what is that Chit? Is the knowledge principle. Not knowledge of physics, chemistry, biology, not knowledge of subjects, that because of which the mind has the capability to know. That knowledge principle is called Chit. That which illumines, consciousness, we call it. So awareness or consciousness is the Chit. This consciousness is aware of the absence of thoughts as well as the presence of thoughts. In fact, thought itself is defined like that. Do you remember the definition of thought? Thought is equal to object plus consciousness. I am aware of object only because of consciousness. But the difficulty today is my focus is on this object and not on the consciousness. So Sat is permanent existence. Chit is the knowledge principle. And Sat and Chit, both of them don't have any boundaries. Boundary is there in form. Satchit doesn't have any boundaries. So it is infinite. So we call it as Anant or Anand. Now this is Purnatvam. Sat, Chit, Anand is the nature of the Purnatvam. And what do we all want when we saw that we want to live at all times, know at all times, be happy at all times, which means what? We are wanting Sat, Chit, Anand. Our deepest demand is for Satchidanand only. And only Satchidanand can fulfill that demand. Now, but if it is already there, then why am I not feeling? That is because my attention I have chosen to shift to the object. I have to shift it to the consciousness. That's all. So one who understands this very clearly will have conviction that yes, there is something called Purnam and it is not out there. This trick is what the mind always plays. What does the mind do? Search outside. Why? Because see, the nature of desire is like that. The nature of desire is it will always feel incomplete. So it will say, if I get that, then I will become complete. So it will always push happiness to something outside. So now I create those equations in my head. Then mind becomes extroverted. And that's the easiest way the mind can function. Where it creates the duality of subject and object and it will function. When we come to Upanishad, then we understand, this object cannot be Purnam, but the nature of the subject is actually Purnatvam. The real nature of subject is Purnatvam. So all of us are seeker of that which is Purnam. And the nature of that Purnam is infinite reality, which is Satchidanand. Now this mantra, when it is speaking about Purnata, it is not speaking about some other cause. It is speaking about the Purnatvam which is within us. So now let us see. What is the first word of this mantra? Purnam Adaha. It's very interesting it is that this Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, this mantra, in this, there are 13 words. Purnam Adaha, Purnam Idam, Purnat, Purnam Udachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Purnam Eva Avashishyate. 13 words, and out of that, how many times the word Purnam comes? 7 times. 7 times the word Purnam comes. So Akhandananji Maharaj says very nicely, Saptapadena Sakhyam. Saptapadi you do know? In marriage, Saptapadi, 7 steps. So this mantra is meant for befriending Purnatvam. Marry Purnatvam. And marriage ritual also should lead me to Purnatvam actually. You know that? Both of them are supposed to walk the path of Dharma to realize Purnatvam. That's why Janak Maharaj, when he gave the hand of Sita ji to Bhagwan Ram, in Valmiki Ramayana, there's a very nice expression. He tells Bhagwan Ram, giving the hand to Sita ji, he says, Iyam Sita mama suta saha dharmacharini tava. That this Sita, who is my daughter, she is going to walk the path of Dharma with you together. Saha dharmacharini. Now, people all make all kinds of, those who want to be this feminist people, no? Why should man walk ahead? Why should woman walk behind? All kinds of, but Saha Dharmacharini is said there. They are walking the path of this thing together. So first they will walk, man will lead sometime, then the woman will lead sometime. What is your problem here? You forget all this, come to Purnatvam. Now who is walking first and behind and front and all kinds of problems they will create in that. But Saptapadena Sakhyam, befriend, walk the path of Dharma, realize absolute truth. So this Purnam word comes 7 times. And here we are befriending the Purnam. Now Purnam Adaha it is said. I explained to you what is Purnam. What is Purnam? Sat Chid Anand is Purnam. And what is our demand? It is for Purnam. Basic demand is only for Purnam. So now Purnam Adaha. Adaha means that. So when we use the word that always means something which is far from us. So we say that camera, this book. Why? Because this book is closer to me and that camera is far. So that always means that which is far. So Adaha, this symbolic of this, that which is far, or I wouldn't remove, it is not remove, it is remote. That which is far or that which is remote. That which right now is unmanifest for me. Why? Because it is the cause of the universe. What is that? From where the whole world came. That. We never say that the world came from this. The world came from that reality, that God. So, Adaha means that which is far, which is unmanifest, which is formless, and which is to be known yet. It is not yet known to me. So basically it is the cause. Adaha means the cause. That. Purnam Adaha. This is simple to understand. That Adaha means that which is, and right now we are calling it that also because I am not experiencing it as this. It is something other than me. So it is unmanifest, it is yet to be known, it is remote, it is far. That means Adaha. And Idam means this. Adaha means that. Idam means this. So it is exactly opposite of that. This means that which is near, which is manifest, which is known, which has form. Simple. So we say this body, mind, intellect, that self, this world, that God. So in short, the word this means the effect. Adaha means that which is the cause. Idam means this, which is the effect, which is near. Now what is the mantra saying? Purnam Adaha, Purnam Idam. That is Purnam and this also is Purnam. Meaning that is infinite That is easy to understand or not? That is infinite. Because what is that which is infinite? That which is beyond Desha Kala Vastu is infinite. See, this is the beauty of our scripture. The definition of infinity is this. What is infinity? That which is beyond Desha Kala Vastu is infinite. That which has no limitation of space, which means that which is all pervasive, which exists even if space doesn't exist. Please remember, when we say all pervasive, we always think only in terms of space, that everywhere it is there. But that which exists even in the absence of space, that is called infinite. Space is a product of creation. Infinity is that which is beyond space also. That which is not limited by time, meaning it is ever present. Beyond past, present and future, that entity which is the illuminer of time, that is called infinity. And Vastu, which is the same in everything. That Satta, that existence is called infinite. So when we say that is infinite, Purnam Adaha, that is easy to understand. That the cause of the universe has to be infinite only. Can the cause of universe be anything finite? Think about it. Today your brain is going to be racked like anything. This Purnamadah, Purnamidam mantra has to be understood very nice, very beautiful mantra this is. A lot of practical implication this will have. First understand the philosophy, then we come to practical aspect. Can anything which is finite be the cause of the whole universe? Why? Because it is destructible and it is already a part of the universe. Nothing which is already a part of the universe can be the cause of the whole universe. It's only a part of the universe. So anything which is tangible, which is finite, can never be the cause of the universe. You say, but 5 elements are the cause of the universe. They are the material cause of the universe. That infinite reality is beyond that material cause. So Purnam Adaha. Now what is that Purnam Adaha? That cause is that in which the universe rises, stays and dissolves. That is called Adaha. That. Ocean is that in which all the waves rise, they stay and they fall. So it is the cause of all the waves. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Yatova imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayanti abhisambishantiti, tad brahma vijignyasasva. Know that to be Brahman. So that which is infinite, we call it as Brahman or Purnam or infinite or Adaha. It is that. Purnam Adaha. Any confusion in understanding this Purnam Adaha? Nothing else can be the real cause of the universe. That which is infinite alone can be the real cause of the universe. But we say, no, how that may be not clear to understand, how the cause of the universe has to be infinite. So one way to understand that is by understanding the effect. Suppose I don't know what is the material cause of this pot. A very beautifully made pot, painted nicely, so colorful that pot is that now I am not able to make out what is the pot made up of. So how will I know what is the pot made up of? When I analyze it or I break it and I see what is this really made up of, then I understand, oh, this pot is made up of mud. So if I analyze the effect, I will come to know the cause. So as of now, it is an assumption, let us say, that the cause of the universe is Purnam. Only our logic is that we are not able to say that anything in the universe is the cause of the universe. So we are assuming that there is something beyond the universe which is the cause of the universe. Now, the next line says, Purnam Idam. That this world which we are seeing, that also is Purnam. Arey, just now you said it is Apurnam. Now we are saying it is Purnam. How can be both Purnam, Apurnam? You make up your mind. Is it Apurnam or Purnam? What do you say? World is Purnam or Apurnam? How many say world is Apurnam? Okay, how many say world is Purnam? How many say not sure? That category is not allowed actually. You have to take a call saying ki Purnam or Apurnam. See, the world is Apurnam when we say it is from the individual object standpoint that this watch is Apurnam, this is Apurnam. But as a whole world, if we say, when we say Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, this also is Purnam. Why? Is there any limitation of space in the world? Can you say space starts here, Swamiji, space ends here? There is no limitation of space. No? It is everywhere. Akashat, avakashatvad akasha. It is that which accommodates everything in it. Is the universe there at all times or not? We Hindus believe in cyclic creation. So after 4 yugas, there is a pralay. Again the another 4 yuga will start. It will go on. Beginningless is the creation and endless is the creation. Creation will go on. Particular creation will come to an end. Again the creation will go on after some time. So that cycle goes on. So time-wise also creation is not limited. It will be only this much. Object-wise, are there finite objects in the world? Finite number of objects in the world? Or there are infinite number of objects? Infinite number of objects, infinite number of jivas also. So space-wise, time-wise, object-wise, all the three, it is infinite. This has to be infinite. As a particular object, yes, it is finite. This watch is limited. But as the whole creation, it is not limited by space, time or object. That is one way to understand when we say Purnam Idam. So if this is infinite, the cause of this also has to be infinite. So that's another logic. That by understanding the effect, we understand the cause. Why? Because cause is nothing but, the effect is nothing but cause in another form. So that there is a effect itself means there is a cause. So Gurudev used to give us the 3 laws of causation. If there is an effect, there has to be a cause. That is law number 1. This world is existing, it has to have a cause or not? There has to be a cause, definitely. The very existence of the effect proves existence of cause. If the world is there, there has to be its cause. And if this world is Purnam, can the cause of the world be Apurnam? No. Cause of the world also has to be Purnam only. Why? Because effect is nothing but cause in another form. So once I know this, that effect is cause in another form, then what to do? This is Purnam, so that cause also has to be Purnam only. And that's why the next line says, Purnat Purnam Udachyate. It is from that Purnam, this Purnam is born. 2 laws of causation. Third law, Gurudev used to say is, from the effect, if the cause is removed, then effect doesn't exist. This I will take up in the last line when we say Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevava Shishyate. Effect doesn't exist, but cause exists, right? If I break the pot, pot does not exist, but mud exists. So it's not that zero. It doesn't become zero. Cause still remains. This line I will take up more detail later. But at this moment, to understand this, Purnamadaha Purnam Idam. That is Purnam, and this also is Purnam. You see, this also is Purnam. Another way to understand this is that potential in each one, is it finite or is it infinite? Infinite. In any seed also, if you see, the seed is so small. But what is the potential of that seed? Infinite. Why is it infinite? Because that small seed, when I put in the soil, that seed will become the cause of a huge tree. That tree will give rise to so many fruits. Each of those fruits have many, many seeds. Each of those seeds will further give rise to so many trees. Now, there is no end to that. One seed has so much of potential. Same thing applies to all of us. Each individual has so much potential. Why? Because infinity is our nature. It is not that we have great potential. Infinite is our potential. It is not minimum or maximum. It is infinite. And this entire universe actually is having abundance. See what this, lot of this people who speak about secret and this loss of abundance and all that now, is this only. When we say Purnamidam, means what? The entire universe is founded on the principle of abundance. This human being, now he becomes very insecure and greedy, and now he tries to control everything, and then scarcity, and then all this happens. Otherwise, there is abundance in the universe of all resources also. But human being exploits and destroys everything. Why? Because the buddhi is not used properly. But otherwise, abundance of love, abundance of knowledge, abundance of resources, everything is in abundance available. If we learn to live in harmony, there is so much more that can be done. But if you see how much war, destruction, death, violence, what all human being does, because one thinks that no, this is all limited, now I want to own it, I want to control it, nobody else should have it, then gone. Otherwise, the universe is based on abundance. And nature also has capabilities to revive many, many things on its own. In our body also, if you see, the healing happens on its own or not. Health is our natural state. Potential is our natural state. And if the body comes into a state of disease, the nature has its capability to heal also. So, abundance is the basis of this whole universe. If a person understands that very well, that is Purnam, this also is Purnam, why should I live in insecurity? That person who understands the practical implications are so powerful, that this is Purnam, that there is enough in this world, let me not be stingy, let me give. The person who takes up the attitude of giving, that person will remain secure and happy. In this same world where people are dying and killing each other, the person who gives the attitude of giving and forgiving, that person lives a happy life. And the law of nature is what you give comes back. Multifold it comes back. See, these laws are nature's laws and nobody can violate them. But human being in his small little thinking, we think that, I have to hoard, acquire and all that. That's why you see Ishavasya, the first mantra will also say, Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. You renounce and you rejoice. So giving is a very, very important aspect. The practical implication is this, that I should live with the security that whatever is required, I will be given. Because the universe is based on abundance, 1. 2, when we say Purnamidam, everything is fine as it is. I have to learn to accept life as it comes. So acceptance is another practical implication of saying Purnam Idam. Now what should we not change? You can change what you want. That is also a part of the plan only. But it is fine as it is. Our problem is not the situation. Our problem is we are questioning why this is like this. This should not be like this. It is like this because of some reasons. Either it is karma or it is will of God or whatever we want to ask, put the reason. Universe is fine as it is. Even today with all the challenges going on, it is fine as it is. You play your part. If you feel you have to contribute and help somewhere and make a difference, do it. But not out of the feeling that, oh God, everything is going in turmoil, nothing is proper, what a world I am living in is terrible, this is not a good thing at all. That mind goes into negative thinking. And it resists. Why did this happen? Not only in the world, in one's own life also. Purnamidam means this also is Purnam only. If I have a particular type of body, it is fine as it is. Swamiji, I should have been little brighter, my skin tone little brighter. You are good as it is. Don't worry. My eyes are not like a fish, I should have had fish-like eyes. You are good as you are. That world may make me feel like that you are not good as you are. But we are good as we are. They have to do their business. No, they will tell you all that. You apply this cream, use this thing, then you will feel nice, and then let them do their business. You can use anything you like, but don't feel that you are inadequate, incomplete, and so you need all this, then will become complete. Nothing. As a small child, any complex was there or what like that? Nothing was there. Happily one was living. All these conditionings have come about, upbringing, society, people, all that. Now I start feeling, my height is not enough. My money is not enough. My education is not enough. My house is not enough. I have a house in Juhu, but it is not a beach-facing house. Go on thinking something, this is not good, that is not good, and keep fighting. Nobody thinks everything is as it is, and how will I progress? That's the beauty. If I accept everything as it is, I will progress faster. Why? Because I will grow out of inspiration, not out of insecurity. Does a tree grow because the tree says, "Arey, wo tree jaldi bada ho gaya, I have to also grow, come on." No, the potential is there in the tree, so it grows. Like the seed I told you, the seed grows because it has potential. I will grow not because somebody is growing and I need to compare and then I will grow higher. I will grow because I have potential. Infinite is my potential. And I will tap that potential. That's why you see, even in psychology, when parents are told, don't compare the siblings. How much comparison one does? Your brother, see him, how he is, and look at you, where you are. Why compare? He has his talents, she has her talents. What is your problem? You find what is their potential and let them grow. The job is to identify the potential and nurture it. In this world, if that is the attitude one adopts, how much growth will happen, how much peace will be there. Just because if I understand Purnamidam, this is Purnam. Entire approach to education can change when I say this is Purnam. Why? Because today the approach of education is, this person who has come is Apurna, is inadequate, is uneducated, is illiterate. Now I am going to make him Purnam, make him literate, make him, meaning what? Make him a machine product. An industry we are running. In that you put raw material and one same product will come out. Gurukul system of education was so beautiful. It is to tap the inherent potential of that person. Certain things everybody will learn common. After that, each one has to tap their own potential. So one has to be like that. So Purnamadaha, that is Purnam. And this also is Purnam. So whatever is happening by will of the Lord. Either take it in that way, or we understand that potential is infinite. And we learn to accept life as it comes. So these are two lines. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam. Now, you may say, how can there be two infinity? That is also infinite, this is also infinite. Can there be two infinity? Yes or no? Why? If infinity is two, then it becomes finite. then it won't be infinite, because infinite means includes everything. How can there be two? But then the mantra is saying Purnam Adaha and Purnam Idam. Why it is saying two? Right now it is saying two because we are at the level of cause and effect. If you transcend the level of cause and effect, then there is no Adaha, no Idam. There is only Purnam. This Adaha and Idam is because I am at this level right now. So if I am inside the dream, then what will be told? The waker is Purnam and this dream world also is Purnam. Are they two? They are appearing two because identifying with one character in the dream, I have separated I, the world and creator. No, don't bring Chidabhas. Confusion that will become. Just think of Jiva, simple. Okay, Jiva is equal to Chidabhas, and that Jiva thinks I am separate, world is separate, God is separate. When this duality is there, then Idam and Adaha comes. Because I am seeing this as Idam, so there will be an Adaha. So this word Purnam actually is to tell us that that alone exists. From the standpoint of this, we say Adaha and Idam. If you remove this standpoint, there is only Purnam. There is no two infinity. There is only one infinity. But it is appearing as two. So Purnamadaha, Purnamidam. Now this Idam came from that. How did it come? Purnat Purnam Udachyate is said. What is the meaning of Udachyate? Udachyate means comes into existence or manifests, whatever you call it. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. Now, important question to understand here. From that cause which is infinite, if this world has to come out, how will the world manifest? Can we say that creation is a production? Like the pot? Like mud, from the mud, pot is created. In that way, the creation is created from the infinite. Can we say that? Why? Cause didn't change to become the effect, but pot got created, no. Mud became the pot. Mud became less. No, mud is still same. Mud, suppose you have some 2 kilos of mud or 10 kilos of mud. 2 kilos you take to make a pot. Pot has 2 kilos of mud. 8 kilos still remains, no? It is what? The maker was there. Correct. So, every creation will have 3 causes. One is the material cause. Material cause of creation is called Upadan Karan. What is the material cause for the pot? Is the mud. Second, it will have instrumental cause. What is the instrument with which the pot was made? That is the wheel. So Karan Karan is called the wheel. And most important is efficient or intelligent cause. Now, what is the efficient or the intelligent cause? Nimitta Karan. Nimitta Karan is the potter. These 3 causes have to come together for pot to be made. Can the pot be made without any of the 3? All the 3 are required. Now, very important one point here is, if I say that pot requires all the 3, then I should know also that the creation also requires 3 or not. what we are saying today, I can see the creation. There is 5 elements. Creation is made up of 5 elements. And that's all. God is not required for creation. Array, it is like saying mud automatically transforms to become pot. Without the intelligent cause, how did that mud become pot? Purnat, when Purnamudachyate, does what are we saying? That supreme cause is an intelligent cause. Now, if I delete that intelligent cause, then I am just saying that mud and wheel came together to produce a pot, which is what science is saying. Atom, molecule, neutron, proton, electron, that is the cause of the universe. No doubt it is the cause of the universe. Which cause? Material cause, that's all. By itself, it cannot produce the universe at all. Now, that is one part. But here, can we say creation is like a pot? That like the mud produces the pot, in the same way, creator uses something, produces the creation. Can we say that? No. Potter uses mud and wheel to produce a pot. Creator uses 5 elements, creates the creation. Yes or no? Pakka? No, you are saying no because you are thinking there's some catch here, but I don't know what is the catch, but I know it is not. Please remember very simple point. Potter, wheel, mud. All three are different from each other or not? Pot is different from the potter or not? Potter is not become the pot. Luckily, otherwise potter will become pot means all problem will start. In the world, when we say that Purnamidam, Purnamadaha, that which is infinite, can it have something apart from itself? Like the potter is a finite entity. Mud is different, wheel is different. Like that, can we say that infinite reality, there is something else that the infinite reality is using? Just now we saw what is infinite is beyond space, time and object, unlimited by space, time and object. So nothing exists outside infinite. Nothing exists outside infinite. How will infinite use anything to make this creation? So creation is not like the production of a pot. Because see the word udachyate, sometimes we translate produced. Generally we can say produced and all that, manifest and created and all that. But technically we should be very, very clear. Creation is not like production of a pot, because in that all the 4 entities are different. Potter, wheel, mud, pot, all are different. But in creation we cannot say that. Why? Because infinity includes everything. So infinity cannot use anything outside it to produce. One. So we say, okay, it is not a production. It may be a modification. So this production is called Arambhavad. Arambhavad. Or it can be modification. Like what? Milk modifies to become curd. Can we say creation is not a production, but it is a modification? Why? No, but why? One very important thing is it is changeless. That it cannot change. If it changes, it becomes finite, perishable, gone. So that is one logic. Second logic is very important. In modification of milk to curd, milk ceases to exist, no? Milk becomes curd. After curd, can you make it back milk? Milk is finished, over. So if we say creation is a modification of God, then what happens? God died. Then you say, oh God. Which God? But that God though died. Creation is not a modification. Because first of all, the cause is changeless. Second is, in this modification, the cause ceases to exist and completely becomes the effect. We cannot say world exists and God became non-existent. God died to become this whole world. No, no. Then the strange thing will happen. God also died, world also is perishable, meaning everything gone. And who exists to even know it? Nobody. So creation is not a production. Creation is not a modification. Modification is called Parinamvad. See, all this I am saying in short, okay? There are long descriptions given for all these. And there are all these philosophies, all these viewpoints are existing in today's world also. So many people think different things about creation. They all will be summarized in this. Arambhavad, Parinamvad, or evolution. Creation is an evolution. Can we say creation is an evolution? Evolution is called Vikasavad. Yes, Swamiji, Darwin's theory of evolution, perfect. It fits perfectly. Creation is evolution only. Creation is evolution or not? Now you are saying whichever theory we are saying, you are saying no only. Creation is not an evolution. Inside creation, evolution can be one part. But the infinite reality has not evolved to become creation, Baba. We are not talking about inside creation, what is happening. We are talking about the cause of creation. That from where this came. If this is Purnam, that is also Purnam. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. We are talking about cause of the whole creation only. Inside creation, evolution can be one part of it. Nobody is denying that. But, and that also Darwin's theory of evolution has serious limitations also. You know, people all read this Darwin theory of evolution, natural selection and survival of the fittest and all that. But we have not updated our knowledge. If you actually see, go and do your research on the internet, so many fallacies on Darwin's theory of evolution are available. That there are so many myths and so many facts, so many things that he spoke at that time are now challenged and disproved also. So we have to update our knowledge also. So creation cannot be Vikasvad also. It cannot be an evolution. How will infinite reality evolve? Then is it infinite? No. Now what is it then? It is not a production. It is not a modification. It is not an evolution. Then what is it? This is what we say. It is a appearance. Vivartavad. It is a appearance. Appearance of what? Without undergoing any change, the substratum appears as the superimposition. Without undergoing any change, the rope appears as the snake. Does the rope produce a snake? Yes or no? Now why you have a doubt? Does rope produce a snake? Does the rope modify to become a snake? Does the rope evolve to become a snake? Does the rope appear to be a snake? That's all. Why is it an appearance? Because that which is infinite cannot change. And yet if I am seeing this changing world, the changeless cannot produce changing. Changeless cannot modify into changing. Changeless cannot evolve into changing. Changeless can appear as the changing. Without going through any change, the changeless appears as changing. So many examples for it. Mirage, which we see. Does the sand produce water? Does the sand modify to be water? Does the sand evolve to be water? It only appears as water. Ghost and post, dreamer and waker, rope and snake, all these. So when we say Udachyate, what it means? Purnat Purnam Udachyate. It only means that this pure consciousness, infinite reality, without undergoing any change, just appears. There is no change in it. But it appears as all these, just like the waker is lying on the bed. Nothing has happened to the waker. Without undergoing any change, the waker has assumed the identity of a dreamer and created the dream world and going through everything in the dream world. And suddenly that creator has multiplied into so many forms inside the dream world, and the river and the hill and the mountain, everything inert, sentient, is an appearance of the waker's mind. And in that, then there is one character who is you, Mr. So-and-so, who has gone to Varanasi and then took a Ganga Ji ka dubki on Dev Diwali and feels so blessed, and that Ganga water was so cool and so nice. And suddenly eyes opened, and what you found? You are lying on the bed next to your child. And the bed is wet. That's all. That is your Ganga Snan in the waking state. Why? That nothing happened to the waker. He was lying on the bed all the time. In the dream world he has created, a whole thing is an appearance. That's all. Now, problem for us is that this appears so real that we can't think that this is a appearance and is unreal. But every night Bhagavan gives us that experience or not. That we withdraw from waking state to dream, dream to deep sleep, the whole world disappears. No, but Swamiji, when we wake up, no, the same world exists, no. That is why it is real for us. How do you know it is the same world that exists? That is the limitation of our senses that is showing. If you actually, I'm not joking, if you actually see from the microscope or whatever it is, you see your body also. When you go to sleep and you wake up, it would have changed. It won't be the same. But our senses have limitations, so we are thinking it is the same thing that is there. No. Continuously so many cells are born, they are dying, so many things happen. So once we understand this, Purnat Purnam Udachyate, what does it mean? There are no two infinities. The one infinite cause is appearing as this infinite. So what does this lead us to? This leads us to understand that creation is an illusion. Simple. Purnat Purnam Udachyate means creation is an illusion. Swamiji, creation is an illusion. Physics also is saying the same thing. Einstein also said the same thing. It is an illusion only, it does not exist. But what he said, it's a persistent illusion, which is why it appears real. A persistent illusion appears very real to us. As long as the dream exists, it appears real, no? How long is the duration of the longest dream? If you think about it, psychology says 2-3 minutes. Longest continuous dream is only 2-3 minutes. But when I am inside that dream, it appears as though centuries have passed. But how much time it was? You see, if you go to higher altitudes, no, you will experience this like this. When we go to Gomukh, I have not gone beyond Gomukh, so I don't know, but Gomukh is at some 12,000 feet or something. 12, 13,000, something it is. So Bhojwasa we go to before that. 14 kilometers from Gangotri is Bhojwasa. You go and stay there one night. Then next day morning go to Gomukh. But that night when you stay there, no, every 2 minutes one will wake up. Sleep only doesn't come. Because oxygen is so less, the sleep doesn't come only. Until you take some pill or something, then that's a different thing. But natural, this thing if you go by, and that is one of the very tiring thing, because sleep is not happening. So body is not getting proper rest. Mind is not getting quiet. Every 2-3 minutes one wakes up, one sees the watch. Literally it happens like that. Sometimes one gets sleep for 10 minutes, it looks long time. When gets up, only 10 minutes have passed. Night doesn't go only. So longest, because it's a persistent illusion, it appears to be very, very real. So when we say Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, that first implication of Purnat Purnamudachyate is creation is an illusion because it's only an appearance. Because logically creation is not possible. Now when something is an illusion, what is an illusion actually? It is substratum alone appearing as the illusion, right? There is no other entity. Like the snake and the rope, are they two entities or one? One only. The rope is appearing as the snake. As long as I am seeing the snake and I am thinking it is real, I will be terrified of that snake and the snake bite, and I am going to die, and what will happen to my wealth, my people, all those anxieties will be there. Then that person is told, look, the snake is not real, it is an illusion only. There is no snake there. It's just an appearance. The more I understand this is an illusion, the lesser I will run behind it. When a person understands that mirage water is, there's no real water there, it's only a sand is appearing as water, will I run behind it? So Purnat Purnamudachyate means when I understand this is an illusion, then my craving for this has to reduce. This is a practical implication of understanding the creation is an illusion. And when we say creation is illusion, what does that mean? Outside creation is an illusion? Yes or no? Yes. BMI is illusion? Yes or no? That we should remember. Lot of times what people do, this is real, creation is illusion. Now holding on to this as reality, I am trying to say creation is illusion, but I am BMI, creation is illusion. If I am BMI, creation cannot be illusion, because part of creation is BMI. So when we say creation is illusion, it means everything. Jiva also is illusion, Jagat also is illusion. But if Jiva and Jagat both are illusion, what is appearing as Jiva and Jagat? The substratum, no? What is the substratum? That is the supreme truth. That alone is real. So from substratum alone is appearing as the illusion. If I inquire into the substratum, I will come to the understanding there is no creation. There is no creation. This cannot be understood as long as I am attached to the body, mind and intellect. This can be understood only in meditation and in samadhi. Literally the world disappears. The moment I go beyond body, mind, intellect, identification, there is no creation. This is called Ajatavada. Ajatavada means creation never got created. So one who understands this very, very clearly, that there is no creation only. The rope never gave rise to the snake. Even when I was seeing the snake, there was no snake at all. There was only the rope. There is no snake. Now, at this moment, if I am thinking I am the body, mind, intellect, for me to understand there is no creation is not possible. So, how do I live in the world? Let me live in the world with the attitude, this is an illusion, so that let me not run behind it. My craving and hankering and demanding it and then insisting that without this I am not happy, all those I can stop. Because this is an illusion. Swamiji, easier said than done. Agreed. Easier said than done. But what the implication of Vedanta is this only. When we say creation is an illusion, can I tell my mind that your craving for Rasgulla is also illusion? Then I've understood Vedanta. And because it's an illusion, I don't need to touch it. No, that is not possible. And then do some other types of sadhana, get ready, then come to Vedanta properly. Because that's what it means. It is not that world outside is an illusion. Anger is rising in my mind. If I say that attachment itself is an illusion, anger won't rise only. No, Swamiji, anger, let it rise. After that, I will say it is illusion. No. That is justifying. My anger is illusion, my desire is illusion, fulfillment of desire also illusion, experience of that pleasure also is illusion only. There are certain rules in this illusion that we need to follow as long as I am identified with this level. If a tiger comes here, you also run, I will also run. Don't say the tiger is illusion and stay here. Tiger doesn't know that. He thinks you are real, he'll eat you up. So if tiger is illusion, you are running also is illusion, okay? So there is a rule. When in the relative realm, there are certain rules. Don't say that there is no law of gravity, it's all illusion, I'll jump from the building. You will come down. In the relative world, there are certain rules. Knowing well that they are illusory, I need to follow them. What is the implication of this creation is illusion? Is only that I should not run behind it. That's all. How much I am craving behind it, so I am not able to turn attention to the self within. So Purnat Purnamudachyate means there is no creation. If that is difficult to understand, come to the earlier level that creation is a illusion. From giving full reality to creation and running behind it, to creation is an illusion, to no creation. That is our journey. Now how to do that? Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. That is the sadhana to realize there is no creation. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Oh my God, that means this Purnam I have to destroy. And this Purnam also has to be destroyed. Then only that Purnam will remain. No, we don't have to destroy this BMI, nor we have to destroy the world. We have to destroy the reality given to that. Sadhana is to detach from the BMI, detach from the world. That is sadhana. The world of OET, the world of BMI. Detach from this. That is called Purnat Purnamudachyate. All sadhanas which help me to do that. Karma Yoga will help me to reduce my ego. Bhakti Yoga will make the mind single pointed. Jnana Yoga will help me to contemplate on the self. So do the sadhanas. Whatever it is, puja, japa, vrata, tapa, upvas, anything that detaches my identification, which makes me identify with this BMI less, that sadhana has to be done. So Purnat Purnamudachyate means from this world of names and forms, this creation, if you remove the names and forms, what will remain? Consciousness will remain. Like from the pot, if you remove the form of the pot and name of the pot, what will remain? Mud only will remain. Now to understand mud remains, do I have to destroy the pot? No. I have to just understand, it is mud only, nothing else but mud. Pot and the form of the pot and the name of the pot is only a illusion. It is not real. It is pot appearing as, mud appearing as pot. So I don't have to destroy it here. I can understand very clearly and I can detach in my mind. That's all I have to do, which is what all the great masters do. They detach from the BMI, they detach from the ego, and they say, I am the Sakshi. This entity will function like an actor. The best example is actor. Actor plays all the roles, but the actor knows very clearly, I am none of the roles. So the actor is able to switch between many roles because he knows that he is none of these. So that is called Purnat Purnam Udachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya. So you separate, which is what the third law said, no? From the effect, if you remove the cause, then effect does not exist. If literally I do the sadhana of detaching with the BMI, when the detachment becomes complete, in the state of samadhi, what happens? Neither the jiva, nor jagat, nor Ishwar. All the three disappears. What will remain? Purnam eva avashishyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya. Purnasya means this world, which is Purnam. From that, if you remove the objects, Purnam eva avashishyate. That alone will remain. So the last line is the sadhana part, that how to detach from this BMI, do Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, and detach from the BMI. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. 3 times Shanti is said, that may the challenges from the cosmic forces, from the beings around us, and from within us, all these three, may we not have any disturbances from any of these three. Now you just see this Shanti mantra itself has full Vedanta inside it. Now when the student is sitting and chanting with the teacher, Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnamevavashishyate. So the mind gets tuned to that which is Purnam. Teacher tunes the mind to Purnam, student tunes the mind to Purnam. Both of them forget their individuality. Then the transaction that happens, knowledge transfer that happens between them, it will lead them to Purnata only. That knowledge is the Upanishadic knowledge. So actually Purnamadah Purnamidam is the gist of all the Upanishadic knowledge. Everything is finished in this mantra already. It will be elaborated now further in the rest of the mantras. And these have many other implications of sadhana. Some more practical implications of sadhana I will take up in the next class.